All right, guess what? Today we're going to make a little trip to North Dakota, a town by the name of Dickinson. You know, reminiscing is a fantastic thing to study the history of what was. Know what we're going to do? We're going to go to an old railroad station. We're going to see the old luggage wagon right there out right at the tail of the caboose and see how people lived. Especially you're going to find that the village we're going to visit was made up basically of the Scandinavian people that settled in North Dakota, strong-hearted people. You're going to get to visit with some of them, the descendants thereof, Norway and a few other places. And you're going to see an old schoolhouse, which always takes you back in memory. You're going to see a general store with a built-in post office right in it. That was very common back in that day. And also, you're going to see a lot of farm machinery. Boy, do I enjoy seeing old harness, old thrashing machines, the various tools of the trade that were used those many years ago. What a fantastic time to take a moment and enjoy. Hey, if you're ever driving through North Dakota, don't bypass Dickinson. You have grouped in one museum area, both one of the most advanced museums concerning dinosaurs, the remains found in that general area, which is just absolutely rich with ancient remains of the various dinosaurs and other creatures of our fathers that have been found there. And we're also going to meet a very interesting gentleman, Larry Cirrus, and you're going to really enjoy hearing him take us through the museum. So what a time we had in North Dakota, and in visiting and in meeting these wonderful people and sharing with them, whereby they could share with you and show you what they have there in North Dakota. The people that we will meet and visit, we will meet one old house that was built from stone in that area. You will see how that in the house, you'll have the parents' bedroom, which was off limits to most of the year to the children who lived in the rest of the house, and then yet the barn built adjacent to that to preserve heat. The animals, even living in the attached barn, we will call it, but still a part of the house to conserve heat and energy for the stock, was one of the very most important stables of being able to survive in that country. You're going to meet some of the offspring of those brave people. I hope you enjoy it. All right, good day to you. Here we are in Starr County, North Dakota. What a fantastic place to visit. I want to introduce you to the officials of the Starr County Historical Society. Thank you for having us, and would you introduce yourselves to the audience?
Okay, I'm Dorothy Coling. I'm president of the Starr County Historical Society, and the city that we're in right now is Dickinson, which is located in Starr County. I have with me another official from the society.
And I'm Charlene Wiseman. I'm the treasurer of the Starr County Historical Society. The building we're standing at was moved in from South Hart, North Dakota, a few miles west of here, and has been kind of restored to the best that we've done. We'd like to add a few more things to it in years to come, but right now it's pending.
Okay, this building was moved in by the retired railroad people, and it's basically their project. The caboose also has been moved in by the retired railroad people. Presently, we're planning to add another room to the back of this little depot to put up a model train display, which should probably be in progress next summer. We have other buildings here that we'd like to focus on, beginning with our Pioneer House, which was moved in a year ago, and we are now waiting to have it shingled so that we can continue with the work inside.
This is the Gorham store. It was moved in from north of Belfield. It was sponsored by the Elks. We have mostly old things, the old post offices, the little boxes that each one had to have their own code to open up. We have an old till, an old coffee grinder. The working counter is the same. There's a table sitting in here where the old farmers would congregate during the winter months and play cards. And there's a lot of goodies in there, and I'll let Dorothy finish it.
Okay, also in the part of the post office, we have many of the original stamps and the logs that they were kept for shipping cream. And also this was also part of a gas station, a rural gas station, and right now we are in the progress of locating the old-fashioned gas pump with the bubble on top, which should enhance the beauty of this building considerably. Inside in some of the bins are still the peanuts and beans and rice that came with the store. I doubt very much that we would try to sell them to anybody, but they're here. And we also have, just to make it more interesting, are showing some antique pieces that will later be moved to the house when the house is completed.
This is a Lutheran church, was moved in from north of Taylor, a little town east of here. It was moved in 81 and dedicated in 83. We have services once a year. The original people come and they try to have their singing and everything, and it's the center of attraction when we do tours on the hill here. Everyone seems to love it.
Also, this church is made available for weddings. We have had numerous weddings, and it's generally for a very small wedding, and it's become quite a popular church for that purpose. The church was vandalized when it was moved in and had to be restored at considerable cost. If you get some shots of the inside, you'll notice that there's a large, beautiful picture above the altar that was slashed. And fortunately, we had a local artist that was able to repair it, and it's in perfect condition. We would like to mention that that this park was made possible by the city. It was a former landfill, and this was given to us then, and we were able to utilize it for this purpose. We are now in the process of putting in underground sprinklers and doing considerable landscaping, which will beautify this considerably.
This school was built in 1909, and it was moved in from south of town. There were 4 rural schools in each township, and this was the last one in Stark County to be open. Just so happens that my husband and 3 children went to this district, and it's very well preserved. We have, looks like the first day of school, we have the assignments on the desk, we have the books on the desks, we have bookshelves, bookcases, the globes are there, and one of our members, Earl Elkins, built a replica of a school from south of town here. We're very proud of this building.
This too is one of the large attractions for the school groups that come through here. It's hard for them right now to understand that at one time that there were 8 grades taught in this one room, but like everything else we have up here, it gives them a insight into what the pioneer life was like in North Dakota.
I'm Elsie Heather. I'm the curator for the Immigrant home. The Germans from Russia decided to build a memorial in memory of all ethnic groups that came to this area. Whether they be German, Irish, English, Scandinavian, whatever. They sacrificed so much. They stayed, they came, they stayed, and they made this a very beautiful area. We're very proud of our immigrants, our pioneers, so this is in memory of them. And we have furnished it very much as it was when they came. They would bring articles with them, perhaps from Europe. Perhaps they acquired them in the States after they arrived. They followed the railroad to Eureka, South Dakota, and then, of course, to Bismarck and Dickinson, North Dakota, and settled here. And the memorials that are built up here are very fitting for these fine people. This is the main room. The family lived in here, they cooked in here, and they would have this size table or perhaps a larger table, perhaps chairs all around it, or just benches. The children would possibly sleep in the bed, usually did. There would be, in the corner. The beds were placed in the corner of the great room, as they called it. The parents would sleep in the bedroom of the main room. It was very, very private. Children were not permitted in there. The infants were in there. Children were permitted in at Christmas time, Easter, and if there was a death in the family. Other than that, it was private to the parents. The barn is attached to the building, as they still are in Germany, I believe, and in many areas of Europe. And in this area, they attached the barn to keep the house warm, also to keep the thieves from stealing the horses. The horses were their only source of cultivation and travel. If they didn't have a horse, they possibly would starve to death. They would have to travel great distances. So the horse is very important. There would be a door between the barn and the horse. Later on, a building was attached for cattle, for the hogs, for the chickens. There would possibly be a staircase up into the attic where they stored the year's supply of seed grain, seed vegetables, all dried vegetables, perhaps several hundred pounds of flour, 100 pounds of sugar, salt, all the commodities, perhaps smoked hams for the winter supply for the people that lived here, because they had a long way to go. In the event of a blizzard, they were well taken care of. They didn't have to worry about commodities because they did have them here. They did grow them and store them for the winter use. The cream separator we had to place into the barn. It was not normally in the barn. It was possibly in the entryway as we entered, but due to the fact that this is a public building, we had to, of course, do somewhat moving around. And then you will see the horsehair carriage rope, the horsehair coat, very, very heavy fur coat of a man, and then the black coat in the back with the fur collar was brought in from Russia. I don't quite have the complete story on that, but I understand it was of a lady that wore it as she was fleeing Russia to the United States. And these ranges were absolutely fantastic. They're rather hot in the summertime, but they would fire up the stove with wood, make a very quick fire, heated it very quickly. This area had a shortage of wood, so they would use cow chips or buffalo chips to start the fire quickly, ignite the coal. They would not use coal in the summertime, only the wintertime, during the winter months. However, during the summer months, they would not bake bread in here. They would not cook in here. They would have a summer kitchen, as we do right next to the building. They would eat their main meals there. They did the canning, their preservation of foods, and so forth, to keep this house cool to sleep in. So they had many things going for them. These artifacts, in this case, were possibly in many instances brought with them. They could not bring very many things with them. However, they did bring a few niceties with them. They even would bring hard red winter wheat in crocks hidden among their clothes to begin their seeding process here. I can take you into the bedroom. We have many artifacts in here. We have the feather tick. Eventually they raised their own geese and ducks. And the goose feathers, of course, are very, very light. The chicken feathers are a heavy feather. At the very beginning, when they first arrived here, they possibly would have to fill the pillowcases and the mattresses with straw or grass, because it depends on what time of the year they would come. And then eventually, of course, they would get their feathers and make it very soft and very warm. You will see the bed sheet. Those bed sheets are sewed together from flour sacking. They were had to be used in the dirty 30s when there was nothing available other than your flour sacks. So they would take the imprint off and sew the flour sacks together and make some very comfortable sheets. And of course, when they came from Europe, Germany, Scandinavia, wherever, they would bring their articles, artifacts, clothing in a trunk such as we see here. Of course, we're not able to bring very many things with them, but they brought some very nice things. And you see the treadle sewing machine, which is very, very important, as they had to make all of their own clothes. And the prices, when they got here, were very, very reasonable. This building is made with limestone, and it was mined in the Leffer Quarry, which is nearby. It's almost indestructible. Many homes here were built with petrified rock or limestone. They built whatever material was at hand in the area that they came. They would stick the limestones together with mud, straw, and manure. Manure served as a binder, much like a glue. And then it would be plastered with just the mud, lime, and manure, and no straw. Plaster it very, very nicely. And possibly find some pink or green coloring on from the hills, like from the scorias. And then paint the walls with that. And then they would make a lighter and a darker color, or two colors. They'd use a corn cob and would roll the corn cob up and down for different designs, like a wallpaper. So they were very, very self-sufficient. They worked very, very hard. Of course, that's evident as they're still here. And we are very, very proud of them. They set a very good example for us.
I'm Marty Bowe from Dickinson, North Dakota, and this is Jenny Myron, also from Dickinson, North Dakota. Our building here is brand new. We just opened the 17th of May, and what we represent is not just Norway. The building is typically probably Norwegian in looks, but it's to represent all of the 5 Scandinavian countries. And we don't have any artifacts to show as yet because we're so new. But within a year, if you were to come back, we hope to have a good immigration story to tell you. The building itself was built in Minnesota by a builder named Don Gaida, and he's a log home builder. He erected this in Minnesota, and then it was brought into Dickinson, and they gave us 6 days of labor, and the rest was all volunteer. There'd be one man from Minnesota here to tell us what to do, and then the rest was volunteer work. The logs were all numbered, so it was sort of like building Lincoln logs when it arrived here. And we ended up having a wonderful time. We kept the men well fed while the building was being built. The first day we ate outside, right over here. By noon the next day, it was enclosed enough that we could eat inside. And it was raining part of that time, but we just put garbage sacks over those fellows and they just kept working. This building in Norway or the Scandinavian countries, it was called a Stabbur, and it was a storage house or a loft, and it was primarily meant to be used for storing dry things, and it was up on stilts with a slate floor to prevent rodents. But when Don Gaida designed this for us, we knew we wanted it to be functional, so we put it on the ground so it would be accessible for handicapped people. And the building also in Norway, if you had maybe extra company, you might send the fellows out to the Stabbur to sleep, because these were not heated, but they were primarily used as storage houses and not for living. And this building has a false top to it, whereas the original ones extended from where you see from either side. That would be the size of the upper floor, whereas this one was designed so that visitors could come up and from either side of the building, and we'll have artifacts on the second floor by next year to tell our immigration story of the 5 different countries. And we have a large troll upstairs that you might want to look at that was carved in Minnesota, because trolls are very much a part of all the Scandinavian countries. We've just had a festival here, and when we were doing our part, we had many good things, and I don't know if the people out there are acquainted with lefse. I guess that's our main thing that people know us by. However, pastries that are made by the Scandinavians are usually made with butter and cream and the things that our ancestors had on hand. Jenny, do you want to add anything to that?
I think I will just talk about what I'm wearing is called a bunad, and in Norway the various regions have different bunads, and mine is from the Stavanger area, which is the southern part of Norway. Both my parents were born in Norway. They came over here and were married after they got over here, but I have been back to visit, and this bunad represents Rogaland, which is the area that Stavanger is in. The jewelry that I'm wearing is from Norway, and it was given to my mother maybe 70 years ago, so it's very precious, and it is authentic. I had this bunad made here, but you can send to an import shop and get the material that is the kind they have in Norway. The apron is hardanger, which was given to me by my aunt, who was born in Norway, so it too is probably 75 or 80 years old.
I just wanted to show you my husband's shirt. I purchased this in Norway, and back many years they had a caste system, and in that time all farmers wore this type of shirt. So if you saw a man wearing this, they made them in red or blue, but you would know that that person was a farmer. But now you can buy them, and they wear them just for fun, and you can even buy them in tiny sizes for little children. The troll, the wood itself comes from an area right here in Dickinson, and it was sort of wondered what to do with these big old trees that had to be taken down. So the people that owned the house, or the area where these trees were being taken out, they somehow had gotten to know this craftsman that does chainsaws, so artist work in Madison, Minnesota. And then they donated the tree to us. And what we tell children are just delighted with it. But we tell them this is what happens when you don't floss and brush. And so that's kind of the story of the troll. But trolls, like I said before, are very much alive in all 5 Scandinavian countries. Each one prides itself with the troll stories. And this fellow was carved by it's also chainsaw made in Wisconsin, Eagle River, Wisconsin. And when we were on a trip, we just decided that it should be very much at home here.
We would encourage everyone to come and share this with us. It's well worth your while. You can spend considerable time here. It's a family-oriented facility and something for everyone to enjoy.
It's on exit 61 on I-94.
Okay, like I mentioned just a little bit ago, we bought this header at an auction sale southeast of Antelope, which is about 35 miles east of Dickinson here. We bought this for $40, and we moved it to one of my neighbor's places close by, and then we started to restore this machine. It was in awfully poor shape because the reels, slats, and the bats were all broken up. We had to buy new bats for that, and a few of the new reel slats, where these bats are bolted on. And we had to replace that screen that's on the back side, to keep the grain from flying back on the ground again. And we also had to look for a different elevator, which we had to do a lot of work on to repair. And also we did a lot of driving around hunting, for gears, because some of the gears were so worn out that we just couldn't use those anymore. And they're usually pulled by either 4 or 6 horses. This side over here, where there's usually 2 horses on this side and 2 horses on this other side. Sometimes you have 3 on each side, it depends upon how soft the ground is. And when we went around the corner, this team of horses had to kind of veer out in order to pull that header around the corner. See, and then also with that header box back here, we had go alongside of that elevator. So when the grain come up through the elevator, it had to fall into this header box.
How would you adjust your height and steering?
This here, you adjust it right here. There's a set screw back here. The raise and lower, you mean?
And also to drive it, just turn it, just steer.
Well, you'd have to kind of work with your, or help along with the hand. Oh, you bet then.
And then this lever right in front of you would raise and lower the
Yeah.
or you get short grain.
Yeah. So the man that operated this machine, boy, he had his hands full.
That's great on that one. I think we got it.
Yeah. Okay. Do I shut this off?
No, you're okay.
Yeah.
I've done an old combine. Where you'd lower it down. I've had oats down and
Yeah.
down there. This one.
Pardon? It's a corn binder. For bindering corn, just like, say, for instance, now you were out bindering grain, this would binder corn into bundles.
I've actually used one of these tractors. It's an old Twin City, Minneapolis, Moline. I used to have a dealership with these guys in Grand Arkansas. Takes back a long way. An old Oliver. And I said, is that an Oliver thrashing machine? I wasn't sure
Oh,
they made one.
It's a Red River Special.
River Special Thrasher, yeah. Well, you all are to be commended. This is the gentleman that donated that. That's great.
Well, like that Twin City, I used to plow with that back in 1946 after I come home from the service.
Well, if they were a horse, this would
Yeah.
be known as a Wheatland type tractor.
Yeah.
cleaning up fuel.
This is a piece of equipment, to me, is get out of the way and save your hands. Yes. Stationary
Baler.
grain baler, wheat baler, or
Hay baler, actually.
you could pull this up alongside of a stack, or if it was stationary, you'd have to bring it to it. The motor would be sitting in here, but we don't have that. But, just to give you an idea.
It's coming up now. Yeah.
Then you stuff it right there in the meat packet. Then you'd have the guys back here, and they would tie it. This would be down like this. And it would drop off right here. Right on this one. This scraper probably appears to be in pretty bad shape, and it's a reason for it. Was used about in the 1880s. This was used to build the Northern Pacific right-of-way. And this particular machine was used about 25, 26 miles west of us. It wound up on one of the farms south of Southart. And here about a year ago, I met him at a restaurant, and he said, "I have this scraper, would you like to have it?" I says, "Why not?" And he told me he was aware there's only 2 others in the state of North Dakota like this. So it's got a lot of history behind it. And when the railroads came through here, like the city of Dickinson, who became a city in 1882, so it gives you an idea in comparison what it's all about. This took about 3 strong boys to dump it because he had 1 fella here and 2 on the side. It's got to be pretty heavy. Here we have some items when it comes to treating wheat, cleaning wheat. Nowadays you just take it to the elevator and have your wheat treated. But a lot of these mills are used probably around for your own feed and things like that, clean it. Years ago you used formaldehyde to treat your wheat to clean it.
Like we clean most of our grain with a fanny mill like this. It has different size sifts, for your wheat or oats or barley, even with flax. See, and then it has a fan, to blow out the fine stuff or chaff or whatever's in with the grain yet.
This little corral here is all regards to the early Cowboys and harness. Something you don't see this very often. We have a side saddle here that women used. It's an old one. It goes back to Teddy Roosevelt's time. Here is something, we had a gentleman living here for years. His family now is out west. He worked with leather. And this bridle he's had is just all hand woven out of leather. And it's the braided bridle, you just don't see it. Because that took a lot of pain and work.
Well, there's other deal that where the saddle is laying on over here, that is used for mending harnesses. That part there is used for mending harnesses. Just when your leather starts fraying, and the string or whatever they use, to mend that.
This is a little smaller version,
Yeah.
but it's the same principle.
I better get over here.
Over and behind us here we have early powered
Milk machine.
milk machine, power driven, and until the cattle got used to it, the cows got used to it, this would be rather noisy with a little pump behind you. This buggy here is a 105-year-old buggy. Was given to the Stark County Historical Society, I would say probably 5-6 weeks ago, from a lady who lived in California, now lives in Mesa, Arizona. She bought it at an auction sale here about 2-3 years ago and showed up this summer to visit and walked in one day and says, I'd like to donate that buggy. 10 o'clock in the morning, here she was with the buggy. The point I bring that up is this. In order to accumulate what we have here, you have to have the cooperation from your community. And that's how this is building. And we had quite a bit of debate on this building, what size to build. We finally won up the idea, 60 by 100. But I'm willing to bet somebody a good $5 gold piece or something like that, that within another 5-10 years, we would wish we'd have went another 60 feet.
That's
We're
right.
getting a lot of people, especially when we have our fall festival, things like that. I've got this, would you like it? Sometimes we're not duplication, but it's building and we're growing, and this whole complex had the addition of the dyno, which is unbelievable how that went. We had the Stabbur from the Scandinavians. We got the home now that's being done by next year. And by next summer, we'll have underground sprinkling and green grass all the way to the top of the hill with sidewalks running through the whole complex. I'm one that feels so proud of our accomplishments that I think we'll have one of the nicest attractions in the state of North Dakota by next fall.
We certainly have a good start, I'll tell you for sure.
And we have some more rumblings going on about additional buildings, and we just hope it all happens. This photo here, what we see here is Teddy Roosevelt's Elkhorn Ranch in the Medora Badlands, going back to 1885. Now, Teddy Roosevelt, also known as Four Eyes, came into this area in the early 1880s for health reasons, and liked it so much they got into the cattle business. What we have here now is his ranch. In fact, the ranch house is on display over at Medora as you enter the park. This was given to the Stark County Historical Society by the Medora Society over there. And it's about 15 miles original ranch north of Medora.
In other words, there is a state park with this ranch house on display.
Well, it's the Teddy Roosevelt National Park. That's what we have over there, and it's at the entrance where you go through the park. And they might as well give Medora a little plug. They have that outdoor theater every summer, and this all goes back, and it's called Bully Bully, and that's some of the expressions that Teddy used when he was a young man. And he came back after he had been in office a few times, and he loved it. At that particular time, there's another gentleman, is a Frenchman, Marquis de Morse, tried to establish a cattle industry where they slaughtered the cattle out here and shipped the finished product instead of sending the cattle and the finished product back. But they had a big fire and it failed, and so that's history for you, and it's a big drawing card. I would like to recommend that sometime that people come out and see that outdoor theater. It seats about 3,000 people. And I don't know how many $1 million get in, but it surprises everybody. It's an amphitheater. You sit down in a ravine, and it's really something to see. They draw, I would say, average probably 2,000, 2,500 people a night, beginning the first week in June until Labor Day. So it's quite an attraction, a drawing card for us, too. We work hand in hand, you might say. I'd like to brag about this little farm set here. This is built by Mr. and Mrs. Earl Elkins, who are also board members of the Stark County Historical Society. It took them 6.5 years to build it. It was just a plain old hobby, and it so happened that the gentleman had wound up with a case of ulcers, and the doctor recommended a hobby. He said, leave your work at the office, don't bring it home. So it was a job well done. Shingles, put on with a hot glue gun, and that's a pretty delicate work. It's all according to scale. 1 inch represents a foot. And he has most of the buildings that you might find in an ordinary homestead. You take the house there, which has glass in the back, you can look right into the windows. I'm willing to bet if we could have had 200 of them homes, we could have sold them as doll houses. But nobody could afford the price, the time to put into it, because, but that's a big drawing cards. Even the youngsters like it. So it's something that's a drawing card to this place too. So.
I want to thank you, gentlemen. Art Baumgartner from local here in the town, and John.
I'm from Richton.
From Richton.
Yeah, a semi-retired farmer, doing a lot of volunteer work.
Great. I know you're enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah,
Thank
sure do.
you all for showing us around.
We'd like to thank you for being here
Well,
and making this all possible.
it's been certainly a pleasure, and I know there are going to be many folks dropping in on you to have a first-hand look at this. Thanks a lot.
Thanks again.
I'm Carl Larson. I am president of the Yoakum Board of Directors. The Daniel Yoakum Museum was established in the early 80s as a result of the $250,000 donation from the Yoakum estate. It was given to the city to be a museum where we have alternating exhibits. It's not designed to be a exhibit where things are permanent. So what we have this year are a number of special exhibits designed to focus on the Western experience. We have the Huffman photographs, and we have an extensive Indian artifact collection. The Indian artifact collection was owned by Mark Armstrong, a local businessman. It was gathered in the 30s and 20s here in the Dakotas, and has recently been available in the area. The Huffman photographs. L.A. Huffman was a well-known photographer in the Montana, western North Dakota area, and his photographs have become classics of the changing of the frontier, and many of them are of well-known characters such as Calamity Jane, and it includes railroads, the breaking of the sod, the last of the buffalo hunts, many Native American figures, and so it complements the other Indian artifact collection that we have here. Many of these items date from the turn of the century, some from the early 20th century, and one should especially notice the beadwork. That is particularly significant. The various items have been identified by our local Indian expert Jack Stewart, who unfortunately couldn't be here today. And so it is the beadwork and the leatherwork that we are particularly featuring here. We have more of the Huffman Indian artifacts here. Particularly interesting to notice the beadwork on the bottom of this moccasin. Many moccasins don't have that, but this is a burial moccasin, and so it has the beadwork across the bottom as well. In this case, we have a particularly interesting item, a Sioux man's vest. We think it's interesting because this particular item was displayed recently at the Smithsonian. The owner has just recently gotten it back, and the beadwork is particularly extensive and fine on this piece. These mortar and pestle items are again part of the Armstrong collection, and many have been astonished at the size of some of these items. We also have over here various Native American axes and other grinding items. These cases contain other items that the Native Americans used, a dance stick, for example, a skull crusher used to crush buffalo bones, and other kinds of clubs that were used in various ways. A dance stick here, and several dance sticks that are a part of this display. There's rather fine beadwork on these items as well. These are all cases, some Arapaho, some Sioux, and there's also a Sioux strike-a-light pouch, which was used to carry the flint and steel that was necessary for them to start a fire. What we are featuring here are such things as war shields, war clubs, and various other things that are used to carry things. Another dance stick here, and various roach headpieces, as well as other kinds of pouches and armbands, cuffs, and so on. One thing that's particularly interesting to people as they come through here is this hand-woven bridle. It's made out of horsehair. It's extremely fine work. I don't know if there is another one like it anywhere. And it's a very popular item in our display. We also have in the other case a number of ceremonial knives and pipes as well. These are all part of the Armstrong collection. We show only a small portion of his collection, but we were pleased that he allowed us to display these to the public, and they've been popular. The Huffman photographs were done about 12 years ago by the North Dakota Humanities Council, and they are on loan from Dickinson State University, which is the local college here in town. L.A. Huffman came to Miles City in the 1880s, 1870s, 1880s, and served as post photographer there, and consequently was able to record what we often call the closing of the frontier. And that included, of course, the arrival of the railroad, the breaking of the sod, and the final hunting, including the buffalo hunts that were still going on at that time but did not last for all that many more years. Because Mr. Huffman was a well-known photographer, we have also featured some early cameras which recently came to us. They were part of the Osborne studio collection here. The Osborne family was in the photography business in Dickinson from 1897 until the 1970s. It was a three-generational operation, and some of these cameras date back to the 1890s. Over here we have other illustrations. Particularly famous Huffman photograph is this one, After the Chase, or Going to the Roundup, and the others, as one moves along, record more of the passing of the frontier. This is a photograph of Daniel Jochum, who gave the money to make this museum possible. The other museum, the Dakota Dinosaur Museum, then was added on to this building last year and opened, of course, this spring. So we are pleased to have such a varied complex now to offer to the public. In the Osborne room, we are honoring the Osborne family as pioneer photographers. Lawton Osborne still lives in Dickinson and has donated many things to us. His father, A.J. Josh Osborne, founded the studio in 1897, and Lawton's son, Lawton Jr., has also been a photographer And so many of the photographs in this room and in other exhibits that we sometimes display are from the Osborne collection. Because we are west of the river and often thought of as cowboy country, we have featured in this room a number of the early cowboys, people who often drove up cattle from Texas on the long trail rides, and the cattle then arrived with them where they were running the Dakotas in the 1880s. The collection was developed by Louis Weigel, one of our longtime members of our board and active in establishing this museum. They were originally secured from the collection of a photographer in Killdeer, just north of here, Mr. Harris, who has photographed a great many of these people. We also use this room for other things. Right now we have an additional exhibit based on the early history of Dickinson. This was done in 1989 in connection with the North Dakota Centennial. And so we gathered a great many Osborne photographs and many others to display. We have actually 3 units like this. One final exhibit which we have up at the present is this one, entitled Railroads Changed the Prairies. It's designed to explain how the railroad came west of Bismarck, and as a result, they had to go across the river on the ice with some of the track in the wintertime to get things over here, and as they cut through the various hills and so on, and then the panels feature the kind of transformation that resulted as a result of the arrival of the railroad, which arrived in Dickinson, which was called Pleasant Valley at that time, in about September of 1880. So we're a relatively young area. We celebrated our centennial in 1982, when the city was basically platted.
This is Dawn Capel from Dickinson High School. She's in a severely multi-handicapped room at the high school. She's age 19. She's on a job program in which we bring the students out to get some work experience. Try to drive right now, Dawn. Dawn will be working for 1 hour every day and gaining some work skills.
Dawn, I think that's the prettiest case in here. You've got that looking real good.
She does a good job.
I think it's excellent that you have this program, that she is able to help keep such the American heritage, preserve it, and to keep it looking so nice. Dawn, thank you very much for sharing with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you now.